Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to CSL Ukiah's virtual Sunday service. So happy that you all could come and be with us. And as always, every week, I'm happy that you physically chose to be here, but I'm also really wanting everyone to know that your soul is welcome here. And that I know that for each of us, our souls are being reborn and invigorated and brought up in that somewhere in today's service, whether it's in the treatment or in the music or in the message, you will receive exactly what you've been looking forward to seeing and hearing and knowing the truth about yourself. So just sit back and receive, and we'll begin with an opening treatment by Gail Rhodes.
Well, good morning, everyone. Oh, and as Candace said, let's just relax and receive and know as a group that this is the beginning of a new year and the beginning of a new day. And we embrace it with hope and clarity and joy. And as we move into this new phase of the calendar, we know that we are moving, we choose to move into a new phase for ourselves as we release the last year and the tensions and the frustration and the fear. We completely release it. We don't carry any of that into this year. Even though we know we have work to do, what we have discovered through this past year is that we are stronger than we think we are, that we are more resilient, that we are more compassionate, that we are kind and loving. And we got through 2020 with Spirit guiding us. For that, we are grateful. So we leave all of the outdated ideas of 2020 behind, and we step into our magnificence. We know it. We claim it. We set our intentions to be a more compassionate world. We know that already we have more compassion in our government. We know that already we have more kindness in the world. We've seen the kindness, the outpouring of good from our fellow human beings. So as we move forward, we deliberately and with great intent and with great gratitude for the lessons we've learned from this last year, we deliberately court compassion. Compassion for ourselves and our fellow human beings, compassion for our planet, for our animal beings, compassion for our leaders, compassion for all. And we do so with the knowing that as we individually change our consciousness, the entire planet, the entire universe is also changed. And we do it with great confidence because we know that behind all of this is spirit. So there is nothing for us to be fearful of. There is nothing for us to feel deflated from because we have now connected ourselves with the powerful spiritual force in the universe that we can use for good. And for that, I am grateful. I release this to the one mind, knowing it already is so. And together we agree, and so it is.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful. And so now we'll have a song from Calvin Johnson. So Calvin.
Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. You have all you need It's all inside of you. Close your eyes and breathe and know that you are safe. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore. Row into the mystery. Flow into the mystery. Flow into the mystery.
Thank you, Calvin. That was really perfect. So, as you guys who have been around for a while know that there is a tradition um, in our teaching to uh, look at the very basics. Look at the what did Dr. Holmes have to say to us about this teaching in the most basic way. And we often do that by taking the first 4 chapters out of the Science of Mind textbook, and we spend a week on each one in the month of January. And I know that there's been a few times when I have kind of wondered, well, why do we continue to do that? And I have this one quote, and this is Dr. Kennedy Shultz, who was one of the, during the 70s and the 80s, he was like one of our great big, most noted teachers and leaders in our movement. And in one of his talks, which I thought was also pretty brave, at a Silmar, he got up and said, I have finally awakened to the fact that every time I reach the point where I think I know a lot, I am really on the verge of discovering just how little I really do know and how much there is left to learn. So I just think it's really important for us to occasionally go back and look at what are my fundamental basic principles that I'm trying to live from, and to really sit with them. So I think that's part of what these 4 weeks are, or what this beginning time of the year is like for us. And I like to start with, there are 2 basic principles within the science of mind that are not exclusive to the science of mind, but they are truly what we believe at the very, if it were the bare minimum and someone said, what do you believe? You could say these 2 things. The first one is God is all there is. And the second one is you are what you think. In other words, your behavior, your attitude, what you're putting out there is going to return to you, and it is who you are. So just really briefly, I want to talk, because the first chapter in the book is called The Thing Itself, and the thing is God. So let's talk about number 1, God is all there is. And I often say, so what is God? And it's more than just the, we have this list, these 7 attributes, which are love, light, life, peace, power, beauty, and joy. But that's a good starting place, but I'm not sure that's all. And where is God? What I like to do though, is with those 7 attributes, if I want to look where is God, I look for those attributes in other people, in nature, in what I'm eating, whatever. And I just have this moment of connection. So I think that those are a couple of really important things to remember always as we navigate our life as religious scientists or in followers of the science of mind. And I also know that biblically there is a saying that in the beginning there was God, or in the beginning, comma, God, period. So in the beginning, there is always and only God. And what an empowering thought that is, that even at what appears to be completely falling apart, decaying, at some point at the beginning, it was God. I don't know if any of you did that ritual that I suggested on the newsletter, I think, but it's the ritual of writing down the things you don't want in your life on Christmas Eve, or not on Christmas, on New Year's Eve. And then you take it outside and somehow you destroy it. And Jesse and David and I decided that we all wrote our lists, and then we took them out and we had them on paper. And we decided that what we really wanted to do was recirculate the energies, like release the energy that is being held in what may appear to be difficult, challenging, hard problems in our life, but to allow it to go back to unformed stuff, back to God, and then that energy can come back new and fresh and clean. So we put it in our compost and shoved it down there. So that was how we got rid of that. And then the next day, on New Year's Day, we all went outside and we wrote the things that we want to have in our lives, in our home. And then we brought them in, and they're different places, but just a place where we know where they are and we can look at that and remember these great truths about ourselves. And I remember as I was out there, I wrote on mine, not just in the beginning, God, but I put in the beginning is now, right now. I can start and do something again differently, and then had all my things that I want to have in my life. And it was, it was a really powerful thing for me. But then as I was doing all of this, and I was thinking about what I wanted to say to you today, I really kind of just kept coming back as just do that first chapter. So here we are, back to basics, back to the things that I so totally want to embody and know to be my greater truth. So the first chapter, as I said, is called The Thing Itself. And just a little quick aside, those first 4 chapters are almost like they put them in the beginning of the textbook, but at one point they were a completely separate, just like booklet that Dr. Holmes had put together. I find them pretty deep and meaty, so I sometimes wonder how somebody who's new in the science of mind, going into those first 4 chapters, how it is for them. But I will tell you to revisit them and learn from them again and again with fresh eyes is so important. So anyway, the thing itself, and this is also that first statement, God is all there is. And part of what Dr. Holmes is talking about is that there is an intelligence, the thing, God, that creates. And it is also the substance from which all things are created. And I love that idea, but probably my favorite part of this chapter is because on that very first page of that very first chapter, there is a line that says, the seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of each of us. But like the prodigal son, we must make the great discovery for ourselves. So I really love the story of the prodigal son. And did you guys, I finally, after telling this story 100 years, I decided to look up the word prodigal a couple of years ago. And what a prodigal is someone who is rash and wasteful, and even wasteful extravagantly. That's who this person is that the story is about, is this rash, wasteful son. So the story, try to summarize this quickly. So there's a man and he has 2 sons, and the younger son goes to his father and says he wants, he feels like he's wasting his time just being there on the estate with everyone. And so he wants his inheritance now, right now. And the father agrees, and he divides his property between his 2 sons. And the younger son sets off for a distant land And there he squanders his all of his wealth in what, depending on the translation you're looking at, it comes down to wild living. That's what he's doing. And so pretty soon he falls into a place of need. He has run out of everything. And all these people that loved him so much when he could afford to buy them everything, they all disappeared. So he's not quite sure what to do. So he goes out and he let somebody hire him, but the only job they had for him was to feed the pigs. And the only food that he's offered is what the pigs don't eat. So it's pretty bad. This is like as low as he can go. And then it says in the Bible, it says, when he came to his senses, and other translations is he came to himself, which I just love that. And what he starts thinking about is how many of the servants in his father's house have food. In fact, they have more than enough that they need. And here he is starving to death. So he makes a decision that he's going to go back to his father and he's going to ask him to hire him just so he can eat. And he is planning out what he's going to say. And it's basically, he wants to tell his father that he has sinned against heaven and against his father. And he's no longer worthy to be called his son, but make me one of your hired servants so I don't starve to death. And so he gets up and he goes home. Now, this is where the story, I think, starts to get really interesting. In the Bible, it says, but while he was still a long way off, the father sees him and he's just filled with excitement, with joy, with compassion, and he runs to his son. So now they're moving towards each other and he throws his arms around him before the son has any time to say anything. And the father yells to the servants, and, quick, get him my best robe, put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet, and let's have a feast to celebrate. And this is kind of one of the more famous lines. He says, for this, my son was dead and is alive again. He that was lost is found. And so they begin to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son, who's out in the field doing his work like he does every day, just being a good son, hears about this is going on. And so he starts to move towards the house and he hears the music and he hears the dancing and everyone is calling him to go in. And he just refuses to go into the house. And his father goes outside and is like pleading with him, come in, your brother, he's back, he's alive, and he was lost and now he's found. I'm just really excited. But he answers, basically this is what he says, look, all these years I've been slaving away and I've never disobeyed a single order that you've given me, yet you never gave me anything so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered everything, he comes back and he receives all this. So this is the other really important line. The father looks at his son and he said, my son, you are always with me and everything I have is yours. So that is basically the story. So let's look at it as from the religious science point of view. And there is actually in the textbook, it's towards the back of the book, Dr. Holmes, if you want to read all of this again, has a really great explanation of the prodigal son in the textbook. So again, here's a father and he has two sons. The older one does what is expected. The younger one, not so much. He's the prodigal. He's wasteful and all of that. So in this story, the father is the representation of universal spirit, that which from that from which all things come. And then there's the two sons. Now, the younger son takes his inheritance because this is the source from which all things come, and and there's actually within science of mind there's a reason for this, why that one gets to take what he can and leave. In the textbook, in that first chapter, Dr. Holmes says, to suppose that God could give a person as an individual, could create a person as an individual without leaving them to discover who they are would be to suppose the impossibility. Individuality must be spontaneous. It can never be automatic. So I think what Dr. Holmes is saying here is that each of us kind of has to find our own path and walk it, that it's an individual discovery. It can't be automatic and there is no force. What's really interesting is I love, because the father doesn't argue or try to dissuade his son, and God does not argue or just try to dissuade us. It does not suggest ever that we are using bad judgment. We might be, but the universe just says yes. So we receive exactly what we asked for. So that's kind of what happened here with the younger son, as he received what he had asked for and now is able to just go and walk the path however he chooses. Back to the chapter, Dr. Holmes says, and each draws from life exactly what he thinks into it. So again, this is the universe not playing favorites. And we each just decide through our acceptance how we're going to fill our life. There's a line in the textbook about the cup of acceptance was filled regarding what the younger son had asked for. It was filled. So now the younger son goes off to the far country. The far country is sort of the outer rim of our spiritual existence. This is where the place where we go, and we never are actually completely outside of God, but we feel this great separation that there is. We don't feel that God energy within us all the time when we experience the far country. And in the book of Luke, it says, and there he, the younger son, wasted his substance with riotous living. And until, and this is also from the book of Luke, he could do nothing for himself. So at that point, when he's just kind of hit the bottom and he's going out to eat with the swine, because no one would give him anything, there's a note in there about the fact that we really can't get anything other than from the source, from God. And there are often times when there are avenues in our life where things come to us, but to try to remember on some level that this is just an avenue, that it's not the source from which all things come. So it's a beautiful place to kind of sit and remember that. So we know that God is not, well, what it says in the textbook is, this is not that God has responded to some and not to others, but that some have responded to God more than others. And so can you remember where that source is? And even as you're thanking the person who has made you a meal, that you're also remembering that they're the avenue and that there is God right there, and that's also what you are thanking. That we're not getting more or less because of God. We're getting more or less because of our own thinking. So while he's in the far country, our younger son, he figures out a couple of things, and one of them is he can't do it alone, but alone means by himself, and you can't get help or support from others who are in the same state as you are. So there has to be a conscious connection that we have at some point, that where we are is in God, and to try to remember that, and also to surround us with other people who know that about themselves too. That's where our support will be. But luckily, because of these two revelations, the younger son, as I said, he came to himself and realizes that he can do way better being a servant to his father than just running amok in the far country. So for him, that awakening is, we in the textbook it's referred to as the Great Awakening. And what is happening is, this is the beginning of a recognition of a limitless power, limitless abundance, limitless love, limitless intelligence. And we can choose to reunite with that. To learn to think is to learn to live, is what Dr. Holmes says. And so that's what we're doing, is we're trying to reunite with that true essence of who we are. So the son gets up and he goes back to the father. So this is the beginning of the bringing the infinite and the finite together. So the creator and the creation together. That's what we're seeing here metaphysically. And what I love is, because when he is still a great way off, the father sees him and runs to him. And so it's like, the second we decide, I'm going to do this, and we kind of turn our attention back to our higher truth, our source, that source also just really wants to be at one. So that's what happens. And what I like to remember is, anytime I make a decision, a choice, that the universe is doing a reciprocal action to bring that wholeness to me. So that's a really wonderful thing to remember, and what part of this story teaches us. The father also began to bestow gifts that the son didn't even imagine he was going to have, didn't think about, didn't ask for. And that is also something to remember, as the universe, we started years ago with a phrase, this or something better, that kind of knowing that we would see something finite. The younger son thought he was just going to go and be a servant and not starve to death. And instead, he was received back as a true son and was given all the gifts again. So it's not like, it's really easy to go, well, he didn't deserve that. Well, it's not about that, because we're talking about a universal presence, or we're talking about the deeper meaning here. And what I'm really relieved about is that the universal intelligence, that universal presence, makes no condemnation. It doesn't forgive, because it doesn't see that anything ever needs to be forgiven. And wouldn't that be huge for some of us to get a little closer to that? Back to the textbook, there's another quote, and Dr. Holmes says, God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation may be, there was always a something hidden in the inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering within our ear, that which causes the eternal quest, that which forever sings and sings. So let's do that. The other thing I love is that the Father's house is always open. It was ready to take both of his sons in. And I love that idea, that it is forever open, that this is a limitless, what Dr. Holmes calls a limitless power that is there for us to use. Now, the stay-at-home son, because we don't want to forget him, who was, I think, being very human, was very human, because he was really hurt. that he had done all this and had never been rewarded. That's a real human thing. But it also shows his intolerance and his self-righteous indignation. And what I love is that the Father, the Creator's response is, all that I have is yours. So both sons were foolish. Neither completely recognized the fullness of what the Father, the creative presence, had to give and how it would give. Dr. Holmes talks about that ignorance of the law excuses no one of its effects. So it's ignorance of understanding the nature of the universe, that this is how the universe works, is not going to get you out of your consequences, your effects. You're the cause, the effect that comes, there you go. So what we also know is that because this law exists in the universe, it can be our servant and it can be our taskmaster. But it's a law. So this is not whimsy. This is not wishful thinking. It's a law. The road to freedom, to self-understanding, is not mysterious. What we need to understand is that we are using a law and that we're free to create the life that we choose. At this time of year, this is a really wonderful thing to start to embrace, to start to fully accept that the thing itself is working, operating through us, giving to us eternally, infinitely. So whatever it is that you want that is of God. So remember those attributes: love, light, life, peace, power, beauty, joy. All of that is yours just by the accepting of it. So take a deep breath. So we're going to go into our treatment. And as always, I'll begin with a minute of silence. And if you want to put a treatment request into the chat, that's fine. And anyway, so just another deep breath. Let's begin by knowing from the book of Psalms. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Just as we allow those words to permeate our hearts and our minds, we recognize that there is the great I am, that is the universal presence, but it also shows up as the individual I am, as you, as me. From this place, we breathe in knowing that all that God is, I am. So we begin to feel that spirit as it opens us to a greater place of truth, a greater understanding of the thing itself and how it works and moves. through our beings. So let each of us become more deeply aware of that great I am within us. And as we become more connected, this inner knowing is a constant, never changing realization. What is now different is that the message, the truth, is more persistent and its urge more insistent. For today we see and hear our true self, the inner voice perpetually asking, are you ready to be more of the essential, spiritually active worker at this radically evolving time that we're in? Are you clean and current in your doing the inner work to release that which is falling short? Are you now ready to be your authentic self? Even in the urgency of what these times are asking, we also know that there is a profound reason that we are here, knowing what we know, doing what we do. In fact, the future depends on it. The I am in each of us is here to radiate deeper, loving awareness, higher intelligence, true compassion. Today, we release the errors, the judgments, the anger, the blame, the resistance, the separation, a sense of separation, and the fears that may have shown up last year, or just when we begin to realize what we've been carrying, maybe for years and years. And together, right here, right now, we allow a more brilliant, greater idea of who and what we are to come forward. And we know that this part of who we are is always available. Therefore, we open to the creative law of our being to reveal through us what is ours to know, to be, to do, and it comes with all the details. So it's easy to walk this path. Through deeper, dedicated spiritual practice, we enter the inner space of the infinite, that place where there is unlimited wisdom, compassion, and a readiness to help, to build, to better ourselves and the world around us. The wonder of it all, that is our contribution to the transformation of life and the world. This is perfect. This is right. This is wholeness and healing. And as we know it and embrace it for ourselves, we know it and embrace it for all beings everywhere, known and unknown, seen and unseen, great and small. As together, we know that all beings are happy, all beings are peaceful, all beings are free, for all beings are God. And we let it be so. And so it is. So another deep breath. And so we move now into our practice of the law of circulation. And so we're going to be doing or I'll be reading our affirmation or offering affirmation. And just a reminder again, to thank all of you so much for the contribution that you're making financially to this center. And what a difference it makes. It makes all the difference. So thank you. So I can't do the screenshot, so I'll just read this for us, as you can just embrace and know these words of truth for yourself right now. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and vision we share. So I have a couple of announcements, nothing new, but still important. We are now in 2021. So if you have not yet filled out your 2021 intentional giving program sheet, please do. It is attached to the newsletter, so you can do that. Gail has them at the office if you just want to go by and grab one and fill it out. Of course, she's only there on Tuesday, but but you could figure it out. And you can send it back to us via email. You can send it just if you want to put it in an envelope or drop it off. That's also fine. I do want to remind you again, though, that this is probably as important as ever that we do this. Helps the board know what to expect as far as income is concerned, and therefore plan accordingly. It also helps us identify our numbers, which right now, even though it's challenging, because not everybody comes to the service, some are watching, but it's just good to have an idea of where our numbers are. And that way also, once you've identified yourself as a member, that makes you a voting member, which means at the annual meeting, we have some decisions that we make and that we vote on. You'll get that opportunity to do that. So please take a little bit of time and fill that out if you haven't already, and return it to the center. Which brings me to the other one, which is on January 24th, we will be having our annual meeting. And it's just to try to keep it simple. We're going to do it right after the service, like we usually just have a chat time. And what we can do is we can take a little bit of a break, 10, 15 minutes, and you can go and get a bite to eat, get a drink of water, whatever, and then come back and we'll just continue on. Or if you can't, or if you want to log off, you just can log back on using the same Zoom link as you do for Sunday service. So hopefully that'll make it a little less confusing. So we're going to try that. And also, so Teresa is here. So Teresa, are you still open to collecting things for the homeless shelter?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I need. Yes, that's what we needed. So do they still, I mean, I don't really know. Do you have any idea of what kind of things they're looking for? I mean, you talked about the coffee cups, but
I know it's always toilet paper and paper towel. And they did tell me that fruit or some sort of nourishment is always welcomed. And I think they also said feminine hygiene products. And I know I brought, what are those things that it's for incontinence? I brought some of those. And any hygiene kind of thing, toothpaste and toothbrushes.
well,
So
it sounds like so I know last year too that they sometimes wanted socks and things. Is that still?
well, I haven't since the last time I called them and took stuff over, and that was like just before Christmas.
Okay.
I did bring socks.
Okay.
But I noticed at one time there was a lot of clothes in there, so I don't know if that's how that. I hate to say, well, I hate to say clothes and then they get overrun with
Right.
clothes, but
Well, I think
warm
what-
jackets was something they needed in the past. So if you have any old jackets, warm jackets.
Okay. Well, so I think, and what you said last time, so just to, I don't want to misquote you, was that if we get a hold of you, then we could take it to your home and then you'll get it over there. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So that y'all know that. So, and you could get a hold of Teresa directly or, well, yes, you have to get a hold of her directly, but just, let her know and that would be great. So thank you.
And the other thing, Candace, I can call again and maybe you can put it in the newsletter, an up-to-date list.
Okay, that would be fine. Yeah, let me get that list. That'd be great. All right. Well, thank you for doing that. That's really great. Okay, so Calvin, you want to sing another song?
This is one of my favorites. Hallelujah, a word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Hallelujah, a word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah. A word of thanks, a word of thanks to my God. Hallelujah. A word of thanks, a word of thanks to my God. Let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah. A blessed day, a blessed day with my God. Hallelujah. A blessed day, a blessed day with my God. Let every breath I breathe be sacred. Let every word I speak be true. Let every song I sing be holy and only bring me close to you. Hallelujah. A word of praise, a word of praise to my God. Hallelujah. A word of praise, a word of praise to my God.
It was great. Thank you so much. And so thank you all again for being here and please stay for a little bit of visiting afterwards. If you gotta go, I get it, but I'd love to stay and chat for a little bit. And thank you and namaste.
Namaste, everybody.